Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we are going to be jumping in to the Ace Beaute Scarlet Dusk palette. It is the only thing on my eyes today. I love how this turned out. I did do a video on the sister palette, the Vintage Dawn, which when I opened them up was the palette that I was like so excited for, and that was the one I needed to get into. But honestly, I'm loving this so much. Spoiler alert, these are coming in the January BoxyCharm box. Because I did recently move, my box is a little delayed, but I did want to give you guys a January video anyway using this palette. Now, I did want to also mention that this palette was one of two that did launch. We are using Scarlet Dusk today, but I did already jump into the Vintage Dawn palette. You guys know greens and olives and these more cool tone shades are definitely more my vibe most of the time, but I love the way this look came out anyway. I did want to also mention, I already filmed this intro, but I'm coming from editing, and the thing that I noticed is that there is some issues going on with the sound, so I am playing around with my microphone settings. Apparently in the move, something kind of shuffled with my studio setup, or maybe my camera settings, or maybe it was just something set in the hotel. Either way, I do know that in the first couple of videos that I am filming, because I already filmed two, there is going to be a little bit of an issue with the sound on the microphone. I'm working on it. I know it's there. I'm taking as much of the static and background out in editing as I can. I apologize for it, and I know it's going to be annoying, but I promise these are a little bit of growing pains. We are going to get through it. I just have to physically get through it. All right, now, where were we? So if that's something you're into, make sure to keep on watching, and please don't forget to subscribe, because now I do upload 5 times a week, and that is the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So if you want to see how we got this look today, stay tuned. Alright, so I recently did a look out of the Vintage Dawn palette from Ace Beaute. Today we're going to be jumping into the Scarlet Dusk because this is the other palette option for the January BoxyCharm box. It's a little more mauve-y, a little bit more of that warm tone shade that I don't normally go for, but on my New Year's Eve video, which I'm going to link up here, I went a lot more like warm and pinky and cranberry-y, kind of these tones, and I loved how it turned out. So I want to do like a grungier, smokier version of that. So I am going to do that today. So we're going to start with the shade Sangria down here, and I'm going to load that up on a packer brush, and I'm going to take that right on the outermost portion of the eye, and I'm really just patting to deposit that color right in this area right here. Then tapping off that brush, but using the same brush, I'm just going to lightly pull that color towards the center of the lid, just because we're going to end up smoking that out later anyway, and then just running that towards the inner portion of the crease. Do make sure, and I've done a whole video on hooded eyes, make sure you kind of tilt your head back. That's going to be the best placement for your color to make sure that if you have hooded lids, it is still visible when your eyes are open. Now that that base color is on, I'm going to go into a fluffy brush with the shade Shade right here, which is more of a warm, transition-y brown. And I'm just going to just diffuse the edges of that cranberry tone. See how that just blows it out a little bit? On a brush with no product, I'm going to take a tiny bit of my translucent powder, and I am just going, need a mirror, I'm just going to blur under the brow. This is something you guys have seen me do a whole lot, really just to soften that blending and make everything look a little bit more airbrushed. And then on that same brush with no extra product, just going to blend that crease and make sure that there's no harshness and that everything is looking nice. And you'll notice on the inner corner, I am kind of taking that towards the nose contour just to kind of pinch the eyes in a little bit more. I'm going to grab a black liner and just throw a little bit of black on the waterline. Before we deepen up the eye, I'm going to take Aura, right? No, I'm going to take Maui. It's a little bit more pink. I'm going to load that up on a packing brush. And I did use the sister palette, so I already know how it performs. But I'm going to take a little bit of Fix Plus. There we go. I'm going to take a little bit of Fix Plus just to make sure we get that full-on metallic effect on the eye. Because I don't want to have to take concealer to physically cut the crease, but I do want that shade to be vibrant enough that it is foiled enough to look like we cut the crease. Now I'm going to be completely honest, I do want to throw on an eye glitter because I'm featuring a palette that is coming in a box. I do kind of want to keep the eye look to this right here. So I am going to dip into Nocturnal, the darkest shade. And I'm not going to take a lot of that, but I'm going to take just a little bit and really just blend that towards the shimmer shade, just to add a little more depth in this little outer V of the eye. Just like that. Then I'm going to take my color switch, get any of that pigment out of that brush, just so that it is just a clean brush. I mean, it's still going to be stained until I wash it, but cleaned enough. And then I'm just going to kind of blend between the shimmer shade and that shade we just put down, just so that it is so much more well blended. Not that there's any fallout, but if there is anything, we're just going to kind of sweep it away, take care of that. I'm going to take a touch of setting spray just to lock down the eyes. I like to take a little bit of setting spray across the eye, especially when I do such a bold eye look, because I want to make sure that it is pressed in. And taking that brush I use with my eyes basically still closed, just going to finesse that shimmer shade, because that mixed in shimmer and that liquid just together is just going to give it that full-on metal vibe. So now that the lower lash has had some time to dry down, I'm going to go into Nocturnal on a pinpoint blending brush. And I'm just going to lightly connect this part of the upper lash to the very bottom part of the lower lash line. Just this little bit of skin right here, just to frame the eye. And you see how that just kind of ties everything together? Then, going into a pencil brush, I'm going to take the shade Sangria, which was that first shade we used, and I'm just going to blend that from that outer corner just to the middle of the eye. Basically, we are creating the same gradient we created up top, down below. And lastly, wrong brush. On a blending brush, I'm going to take Shade, that transition color, and I'm just going to blend outer to inner, doing that same gradient of color that we have up top. I was going to use a shade out of the palette to highlight the inner corner, but because it is so frosty, I do want to go into something a little bit more, I know what I want. This is the Makeup Forever Starlit Powder in the shade 13. I don't even work out of the packaging. I literally open it and whatever is residual in the cap is all I ever need. So I'm going to take a little bit of that and just pop that on the inner corner. All right, I'm going to go throw on some mascara and lashes, and I'll be right back. And that is the finished look. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today, playing around with some eyeshadow and really just relaxing. This was a really low-key day for me, and I'm really grateful because it's nice to be getting back to filming. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.